Last Pint Productions presents the New Way podcast. The New Way contains adult content, including thespians, tremors, and superfan Ryan Alexander, who comes with his own adult content warning, or he doesn't come at all. Listener discretion is advised.
Finding people is my specialty, so naturally I worked for the Nazis finding people, and yes, some of them were Jews, but Jew Hunter, just a name that stuck.
Man, everyone's gay once in a while.
I'm not gay.
It's
How about we do this?
Whatever was left of Walter Kovacs died that night with that little girl. From then on, there was only Rorschach.
Fuck you!
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello, and welcome back to Fresh Air on NPR. I'm your host, Matt Shank. I'm joined here in studio with Benjamin Wilson. How's it going, Ben?
Matt Shank, what happened to Terry Gross?
Terry Gross is on assignment, and we're picking up the slack today.
Isn't Dan Davidson actually the replacement for Terry Gross?
I think you're right. This is the trials of being on air live and really freaking our audience out to wonder why are we talking like this and so mannered.
I think I should use my full name, Benjamin Scott Wilson.
Benjamin S. Wilson. Can you imagine doing the entire podcast like that? Just like because it's so difficult to like.
It used to crack me up when they like SNL did the NPR knockoffs, and I was just like, because I listen to NPR every day. I mean, like I'm an NPR and PBS person, and unfortunately,
it happens to
it happens to the best of us, but. It's pretty dead on. I mean, it's just...
It's so, it's such a concerted way of, you have to be talking very carefully, and there's a lot of enunciation in this. And it's like...
Yeah, it's...
and it's great. It's very relaxing to listen to, but it also can sort of put you to sleep.
It's actually one of the reasons why I really like Marketplace with, Kai Ryssdal, because he's like... at least Kai Ryssdal has some personality. He's just like... from American Public Me, this is Marketplace, and does his whole thing.
Well, welcome to the New Way podcast. We're
not Marketplace
joshing you,
and
just
not
joshing
NPR.
you. This is the New Way where we dissect pop culture, so you don't have to. I've been like this last time, so I'm going to say it again. He is my co-host who toasts by saying Prost, Benjamin Scott Wilson. How's it going today, Ben?
Toast,
Prost. Now we are through the magic of pre-recording all of our things. This episode is actually being recorded before our 100th episode, but will air after. It's like you're going backwards and forwards in time at the same time.
Did you watch Avengers Endgame? It's just like that.
It's exactly like the middle act of Avengers Endgame. It's amazing. So we
Matt,
won't be referencing.
You're saying that Back to the Future is a bunch of bullshit?
It definitely is. So we will not be referencing anything that happened on the 100th podcast because it hasn't happened yet for us, even though when you guys listen to this, you will have heard what we hope was an amazing 100th episode. But
I tried my hardest. That's all I can say at this point.
Yes. And also this is one reason why I'm not going to talk today about my recent trip to Las Vegas and to Los Angeles because we do not have Nick Santacroce on the podcast today. So I don't want to leave him out of those stories, but there's lots of good shenanigans. We're going to have some fun episode.
I am so excited to hear all about this trip because
I
was not on this trip.
This is you lucky bastard. You really shouldn't have. But I wanted to get to a couple of things before we get into our topic. It's going to be a quick one today, I think, although we do have a special guest that will be showing up on the podcast in a little bit. But the first thing I wanted to play for you, so I had some friends in town who are now listeners of the podcast, some of them. Mark Travellini listens. Adrian doesn't listen yet, but we have this epic text thread that's been going on for months now, right? And we just kind of go on it, and everyone on it is on an iPhone except for one person.
Oh,
Mark.
it's that one fucking Android
One
person,
Android.
right?
So
it's
that
always that one Android person that just fucks everything up.
So
for
whenever
everybody.
anyone likes or exclaims or questions that, which like on the iPhone will just put a little icon on, you actually get a text message saying Matt
This person
emphasized
exclaimed.
whatever.
Yes.
So there was a text many months ago that said Matt likes big balls, which so several people liked Matt likes big balls. Then they exclaimed liked Matt likes big balls. Then it started to snowball. And it's now become this, there's an actual text that they just keep adding on to and responding to that's basically like emphasized, etc. for like 100 lines. So what I explained to them, I go, it's very funny in the text, but it is also very terrible when you're driving in the car and you have the car read a text message that's just come in. And this is what it sounds like. Read text message.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
You bastard. Oh, shit. Face.
Yeah, right.
Adrian Silver Smith sent you, Mark Travaglini, and 4 others a new message. Emphasized, removed an exclamation from emphasized, 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 emphasized.
She had to take a breath.
Emphasized, 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 emphasized.
There's somebody in the world that gets off.
Wow.
Emphasized, emphasized,
That's beautiful.
emphasized, emphasized, emphasized.
It's like
Emphasized,
emphasize.
Yeah.
You like that?
Emphasized.
Occasionally has to catch her breath.
Man loves big balls.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
So yeah, that was the emphasized Matt loves big balls. It really cracks me up that she literally has to take a breath in the middle of it. But yeah, I think Ben, you're right. I think somebody is tapping to that. And that's really disturbing.
Yeah, that's somebody's fetish right there. All they want is a proper business lady to be like banging out emphasize. Wait. Emphasize.
Oh man, I imagine that's exactly what British sex is like. It should be amazing. But yeah, so thanks to Adrian for helping me record that here in the studio while he was in town. It was good times. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is the one thing I will share from my excursion out to LA was I saw the film Midsummer, and I do not want to spoil anything about this movie. If you've seen Hereditary, you should have some idea what kind of movie you're walking into.
Ari Aster is really weird and fucked up.
First of all, he does the symmetry thing that I love. That's gets my OCD sense tingling. But what I really liked about the movie, there's some really great and obvious foreshadowing that's just really fun. But then there's some really tricky foreshadowing that you don't really quite understand or know. You have an idea that something might pay off, but you don't know exactly how.
Yeah.
But just it's a beautiful movie. Great performances in it. There's some gut punches for sure. Just like it's not as, I think Hereditary is much more of a gut punch, shocking, like upsetting movie. There's some upsetting things in this, but it's a little more. It is much more like leaning into the horror, which he said is himself. He said this is his first horror movie. He doesn't consider Hereditary to be a horror movie. But there's
fooled everyone else.
Yeah, there's a great shot in the beginning of the movie where this girl's like, she's having kind of a bit of a crisis, kind of like a bipolar thing going on with her family, and she's about to take this trip to the Midsummer area, to Denmark. And she's like, she breaks down at this party and she like goes crying into the bathroom, and it's shot from above, and she walks into the bathroom from above, and then she's in the airplane lavatory and then walks out, and she's on the flight already to the place. And it's like just this weird like weird shot. And I'm like, okay, I really want to see more movies by this guy because it's such a really fun way to do that passage of time, and it completely is jarring. It's like you get kind of that idea of what's happening, but highly recommend it.
It's nice when you do that type of like technological thing where it actually like services the story. For example, like the shot in Contact, like the long shot of Jim Malone, where it's like her dad collapses and she goes to get the medicine or whatever, and like runs up and it turns into this mirror shot.
Yes, and it's really funny you bring that up because I wanted to also recommend to people, if they're not watching the guys from Corridor Digital. They do VFX guys reaction videos to they react to bad and good CGI in movies. They're an effects house. I don't know if you've watched it or not.
I've watched them before, but I haven't. They talk about Contact?
They do that exact shot because they go, "How do you think it did it?" And they're like, "What?" And the one guy hasn't seen it, and he's like, "What is this?" And the one's like, "This is why I got into visual effects."
Yeah, it's
an amazing shot.
Yeah, it's a great shot. I mean, obviously, it's Zemeckis doing Zemeckis things, but yeah.
Yeah, and of course they lose their shit when it swings and does and you get the
shot of the father and
the
picture.
Like, they're like, come on, this is ridiculous.
It's so. I mean, at that point they're just playing with it.
Yes.
It's just like, it's so over the top. You just have to love it.
And that's what's so sad about Robert Zemeckis.
We are referring to the 1996 film Contact by Robert Zemeckis, but there is a shot at the beginning of that movie that is, I mean, technologically, I would say for a shot that services the story, it's almost unparalleled, maybe until Quran. But it's a long shot of a girl who's running to get medicine, and then that shot ends up being in a mirror.
Yeah, you realize you've gone up a staircase through a house,
and then it's in the mirror,
and then you find out you're looking at the reflection of it, and then you go through the mirror, and now you're on the other side of the mirror.
The camera's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's an impossible shot.
It's an impossible shot, and so you realize it because it looks real and it looks normal, and there's nothing there that would make you feel like it's not organic or CGI or anything. It's just a perfectly executed. It's where. What Zemeckis does best when Zemeckis is being Zemeckis, which is the ability to craft CGI in a way where it's completely invisible.
Yeah, and I think
which
really,
is Castaway. I mean, that's the best part about Castaway.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. It's that's such a great movie because that was the first making of I watched, and I go, holy shit! They shot like a third of this movie in the parking lot of the studio. They literally like took Tom Hanks out into a parking lot. They put a little bit of blue screen around him, and then they digitally made shots that they're simple shots. So you're not expecting it to be CGI, so they can get away with doing all of these little things. Yeah. And it was such a great promise of what CGI could be. And some people still use it in kind of that capacity, but not as much as I'd kind of hoped to see more of just like regular things done technically a little bit better. And also just, I mean, Zemeckis stopped making live action movies. He's now making them again, but they're not, he seems to have lost something. I don't know what has happened to the old Zemeckis.
It happens to a lot of directors.
Or young Zemeckis.
It happens.
Yeah, it's sad.
It happens. Before we call our special guest,
yes.
I would like for you to try something really quickly. So I'm passing a glass right now. Okay. Hold on. Oh, there. Got it. This is cherry mead made by our friend Brandon Dirk. Well, I say our friend. It's really my friend who Matt has not met, but has met by proxy through my beer group.
Okay.
So, cheers. I would like you to taste it and see what you think.
All right. I'm going to have some
homemade mead.
Mead. Ooh, it smells like cherry pie.
She's my... It's kind of fucking delicious, isn't it?
Yeah. It tastes like cherry pie.
It's cherry pie.
Yeah, it tastes like cherry pie syrup.
It's a little sweet.
But there's a nice little tartness on the end of it. Yeah. That's that kind of that black cherry flavor. It's good.
So I will say this because I tried it a little bit earlier. I think that this is better than anything I've had from Schramm's or Garagerie. So, Brandon Dirk, sir, you've done a good job. Open a meadery and then hire us to do all of your social media.
we will do all of your commercials.
Yes.
Your meadery.
We will do.
Is that
all
what
of
it's
your
really
meadery
called?
commercials.
It's called a meadery.
It's a meadery. Yeah.
Meadery. I've never heard that word before.
Yeah. Garagerie is one of the best in the country. It's in Tampa.
I mean, yeah, this is very tasty.
Yeah.
Very, very tasty.
Delicious. I mean, it's like remember that those
it's like a port.
Those medicines that you liked as a kid just because of the taste of them.
The Ludens.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
exactly.
That's exactly.
No,
yeah,
it's Ludens. It's like Ludens, but better.
Yeah, because you can get drunk on it, and it has way more medicinal.
You could get drunk off of Ludens. Trust me.
Ludens were Ludens actually cough drops? They had to just be candy.
Candy.
It had to be just candy.
Yeah.
I mean, those things were phenomenally good.
I'm gonna ask Brandon. All he did was melt down Ludens, and that's all we got.
Just with a little bit of booze in there.
Yeah, exactly. We also have another special beer, but we'll save that for a little bit from now. But I think we should call our special guest.
I think we should course and donk him and get him on the cast here. So we're gonna, we don't always have the best luck with our calling software here, but we're gonna try it right now. So everyone, just hold on to your butts and let's see what happens. See who we've got here today when I do this. Ooh, I like to dance to this song. Oh, there it is. Coming a little hot. His icon, by the way, is Nerd Rope, which always cracks me up.
Well, long-time listeners will know exactly who it is.
Exactly who it is, but
ahoy hoy.
Ahoy hoy. Hello. Who are we talking to? Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with right now?
It's Ryan in Houston.
Hey, Ryan from Houston. Yay. Where's my there we go. We did it.
God, I wish everybody was that excited to talk to
me. How's it going, man?
Good. I'm just folding underwear and
that sounds like you're in the
sweating.
Sounds like you're in the bathroom.
Yeah. Tell me more.
I'm not in the bathroom.
Are you folding your own underwear or someone else's?
Why would I fold someone else's underwear?
I mean, why not? I pay good money to fold other people's underwear.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I got nothing. I pay nothing and fold my own.
But see, here's the thing, Ryan. You have to understand it's just hot, like the hot balls thing in Houston, Texas. It happens down here in South Florida too. I mean, it's fucking disgusting down here right now.
Sure, but y'all have the ocean and like seafood and we have.
Don't you have Galveston?
Yeah, you got better shrimp than
you
us.
used to have Galveston.
Yeah, have you seen the beach in Texas?
Not me. No, personally, no. I didn't want to die that young.
Exactly. It's not pretty.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you on with our podcast, and we're going to just dive into our topic here. So, Ben, you approximately 7 hours ago gave me a topic to prepare for tonight. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're going to be speaking around?
Well, so what I thought about was there are tons of performances that I just really admire across film and TV, characters that completely kind of embody the work that and completely they're sort of like a catalyst for everything that happens around them, and they're perfect. They're perfect. Now, in a lot of cases, those casting choices aren't necessarily something I would have initially thought of, or they're not necessarily actors I like.
Okay.
But there are lots of times where an actor is so perfect in a role that, or actress,
sure.
I mean, we're talking male and female, where I just never assumed that they would be so good in that one role. And so that's what I really want to talk about is like, it's being perfect for a specific role. You don't have to be the best actor or actress in the world, but being in a vehicle. And here's one thing that it's not on my list, but kind of I feel like one of the impetus thoughts of this podcast was The Matrix and Neo, and Keanu Reeves playing Neo. And a bunch of people will always say that Neo is kind of a perfect storm of Keanu Reeves kind of having that aw shucks, doe-eyed, what a lot of people will say is bad delivery. I think Keanu Reeves is a much better actor than people give him credit for, but because he was so clueless in the context of the movie, a lot of people felt like that was a great performance. And I think that was sort of a barometer. I remember when I first saw that, I was just like, oh, of course Keanu Reeves is perfect in this role, you know?
I don't necessarily agree with that assessment, but of the Matrix, but I like it in general. So I was excited to get into this one a little bit is it coincided with something I was going to bring up in the beginning of the podcast, but it fits better here, which is one of my favorite shows just came back on air, which is Succession. And I think there's some really – I think it's always interesting when you look at performances of what makes a good performance. It's part of it is casting, part of it is the actor, part of it is the script, part of it's director. There's all these things that go into it. And there are certain roles that are written so well – they're gonna work with almost anybody. And one of the anecdotes we've talked about, I think, on the podcast, or at least I know Ben and I have talked about in general, is The Departed. And a lot of people really liked Mark Wahlberg in The Departed. That role is written, and it's a slam dunk. You have to try really hard to screw up that role. The role was originally written for what's his name from Dennis Leary, who would have killed it. Like, I think Dennis Leary would have knocked that one out of the park. And I look at something like Succession with Kieran Culkin playing Roman. Roman's another character that is written so well.
Yep.
Anybody's going to look good in that role, but Kieran Culkin's so suited for it that he kills it. Every line he kills his delivery.
I mean, I think there are people who could play Brandon Cox's role because it's so well written.
Exactly.
But,
Brian Cox.
Or Brian Cox is what I meant.
Scatman Jones.
Scatman Jones. But yeah, it's well written enough for it. But I agree with you. I mean, but ultimately, what I was interested in is where the vehicle suits the person and the performance so well that it becomes intrinsically a part of what we love to enjoy about that film or that TV show. And so that was kind of where I kicked off, because I was like, there are tons of movies and shows where I love that person or that character and that performance. I don't necessarily love that actor.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't know if I have any that are actors I don't like. I didn't quite find those on my list, but
what about you, Ryan? So I explained this topic to you earlier this morning too.
You explained it. You sent me a text. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it an explanation.
Yeah, I think we just got the explanation here.
Yeah, that was as I'm rewriting everything that I researched.
He's furiously scrambling out like everything that he has.
Exactly. So I started off looking at like the real obvious ones. There's a whole lot of actors, actresses that you can kind of disqualify because they're so great in everything, and they have these roles that are iconic, but then they have 3 or 4 of those roles.
Right. Yeah. Like you're going to disqualify like Daniel Day-Lewis and like
DiCaprio.
DiCaprio or
like Tom Hanks, Depp, Marlon Brando.
Yeah, exactly.
I even went so far as like the roles like Rain Man or DiCaprio in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, where it's like so insanely good that it's almost not fair.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to like disqualify that because they're using PEDs in their acting career.
Yeah, it's true.
No, and it's funny because I wrote that was exactly the same. Like we could spend hours going through and those exact actors you named, and I thought, and I even thought about some of it we've covered on the show as well. So I didn't want to hit it, but I kind of thought of another spin-off of this topic as well, because I was trying to think of how to theme it just personally for me, and I wound up kind of I was going down a genre path, but I didn't do that. But there's also, I think, roles by great actors that are underrated. They're not underrated. They're just the rest of their career is so good. So like Philip Seymour Hoffman is amazing in so many movies, but I find his performance in Mission Impossible 3 to be electrifyingly just so watchable, and so it doesn't have to be as good as it is.
Argue with you on that one.
and I think those are also really interesting performances to look at, where someone just like,
where I would say like Philip Seymour Hoffman, The Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yes,
Before The Devil Knows You're Dead is like one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. Not on my list, but
Charlie Wilson's War. Yeah, anything they could do is going to be amazing stuff. So yeah, I think we're kind of on the same point with that, and I'm guessing there's going to be a decent amount of character actor discussion in this. I would guess that's usually draws itself to these kind of discussions.
Sure. Well, so do you want me to kick off and say the first one I was thinking of?
Yes.
Well, the thing the impetus of this conversation actually came from a GQ video I watch, where sometimes they do these long form Q&A sort of interviews with famous actors and directors, and I was watching this like 35-minute interview with Kevin Bacon. I was just completely enamored with the entire thing because I love Kevin Bacon. I don't think
I love regular bacon.
Well, of course.
Boy, Ryan's stepping into the Nick role so effortlessly that
yeah,
I almost expected him to say
Nerd vote, motherfucker!
yeah,
but
no 7 degrees there. one degree of Kevin Bacon.
no, and Bacon is I think Bacon is on the top of my list of people that deserve an Oscar that would probably. I don't know that they're ever going to get one, but he gets so
just like
close.
a lifetime achievement.
Well, yeah. So there are so many roles that I love Kevin Bacon in, and especially the thing that he should have won the Oscar for, which is The Woodsman, which is just such
I was gonna say Tremors.
Hey, honey, hold on to your butts, because the movie that I think is the most underrated performance of his is Tremors.
There we
I
go.
have never seen a guy commit. I mean, he had this great part in the interview where he was like, he said at one point, like halfway through shooting, he turned to his wife. He's like, I'm in a movie where I'm a bunch of giant worms are chasing me. What the fuck am I doing? The level of commitment in that movie and the level of commitment to that role. And he said afterwards, he was like, that character, he's like, that's one of my favorite characters I've ever played. I want to go back and be that character again. Because it was kind of talk about a guy who commits to role. So exactly, there are giant worms under the ground. It's a B movie plot and B movie script and a B movie
barely
barely a B movie budget. And Tremors ended up being a pretty huge hit on VHS after it came out because
Cable
it bombed.
and VHS.
Yeah, it bombed when it first came out. But people love that movie for good reason because it's a fucking amazing movie. It's an awesome movie. But I still, and you can play the clip I sent. I
gotta find it. I hadn't have it pulled up.
I still love the fact that Kevin Bacon is so committed. Even in a role that he said he was just like, yeah, it's a giant worm movie. Like, what am I doing here? He's so committed. In his best lines, he's so over the top and just kind of like. But the scene where they first kill one of them, where it runs into the brick wall, and he just basically says, "We killed it. Fuck you."
Yeah.
Not only did that get me grounded for a week, that scene. But I was just like, I will love Kevin Bacon no matter what.
Here we go. Let's get a little taste of this here. If this will work.
We killed it. Which is using your one fuck in a PG-13 movie very efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But Kevin Bacon kind of prompted me on that because I love Kevin Bacon as an actor, but for some reason his dedication to a role in a B movie like that was so crazy over the top and so good.
Yeah, I'm being dead serious. Like, Bacon is one that pops up continually on my list of just completely underrated. He does have a new Showtime series coming up that looks really good.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really hoping I'm always, every time with Kevin Bacon, I'm like, come on, man. Like, this is his thing.
The worst part is that his best friend is David Koepp.
Yeah.
And so they're doing a new movie together, and Koepp is directing again.
Yeah.
And it's just like Stir of Echoes is pretty good, but
and it's funny because Stir of Echoes is one of those weird ones that Koepp went to my cousin's high school in Kettle Moraine, so he's like the star of Kettle Moraine, Wisconsin. Town.
Well, of course you are.
And so
if you're David Koepp, you're the only person that's come out of Kettle
Yes,
Moraine,
exactly.
Wisconsin.
So he shot one specific scene like locally, and everyone from the town is an extra in the scene. So one summer I went up to my aunt's house, and we all had to like sit down and watch Stir of Echoes together. And I was like, it kind of sucks. I was really not into it, and everyone else was so excited about the movie. I was like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's
It's
good.
fine.
He's always good, but the movie's.
Hey Ryan, are you still folding underwear?
It sounds like it.
No, I'm just listening.
Oh.
I'm honestly, I'm absolutely shocked. If you would have paid me $1 million to guess your first option, it would not have been Kevin Bacon. Like, I literally made that joke, and you were like, and
that's exactly what it was. Ryan, we're friends for a reason.
That's right.
Just so you know.
Well, let's let Ryan talk a little bit. Ryan, why don't you hit us with one of your choices here? I'm excited.
So, what?
I'm excited to hear.
I'm glad you're excited. So, like I said, I started looking at all the real obvious ones. I think there's some real low-hanging fruit that we all could have gone with. Emilio Estevez from Mighty Ducks, obviously.
You're talking my wife's language here. Stop getting her wet.
Whoa.
Designed to penetrate gently but deeply into a horse's body, working places not easily reached with massage, lasers, or other methods.
Don't ever forget. I'm only allowed to use it once an episode.
Never forget.
I had to use it there.
Oh my gosh. So, wow. I don't even really know where to go from here. So,
what's that sound over there, Ryan? What is that? What are you doing, Ryan?
I'm folding underwear.
Stop it.
Stop folding underwear so
any
fast.
more I'm doing something with my underwear. So I started thinking of the obvious ones and started going down the list of where I would go, and what popped into my head, not really initially, but now that I'm thinking about it, was, have y'all seen Aziz Ansari's latest Netflix
I watched about half
special?
of it.
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Yeah, I watched about half of it.
Well, so he does a bit where he's talking about things that have been done recently that you couldn't do even 10 years ago that you couldn't do now.
So he's talking about The Hangover?
Probably, but he's talking also like
paging
little things,
Dr.
like his
Faggot.
role. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He mentions that. Like the preview. In the trailer, they yell paging Dr. Faggot.
Wow.
Like, you can't do that.
No.
And, he talks about his character putting a nanny cam in a teddy bear and giving it to one of the girls in the show of Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, now if my agent brought me that, I'd say, yeah, I'm not going to do that scene. So it kind of fits with my first choice, which is Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder.
Great choice.
Kirk Lazarus playing Sergeant Lincoln Osiris.
So here is my argument. Not an argument against the choice because it's an amazing choice. It's
I haven't even said anything yet.
No. But I just want to say, I think that they could still pull that off today because it is satire. It's obvious satire.
I don't know, man. Stiller was interviewed on Stern like recently, and he's like, I can't make that movie. He goes, if I tried to bring that movie now to a studio, even if with the clout of that movie, I couldn't make that movie now.
Wow.
So just like, if you don't know Tropic Thunder and somebody was to come to you and say, hey, there's going to be a movie where a white guy is playing a black guy in blackface, and we're going to give him awards for that.
Nominate him, at least.
Yeah, what are the chance? Like, you would say no chance. There's no chance. And he hits all of the Hollywood unicorns. I mean, he's talking about shit. There's one line where he says, man, everyone's gay once in a while. It's Hollywood.
And he still has the essential line, you never go full retard.
Never go full. Yeah, that movie literally is like a bingo list of things you can't do.
Because it's a satire. It's like a Mel Brooks movie in a modern context.
Sure, and you could do that now, but man, you're walking on eggshells trying to do it. Like, it could tip sideways really easily and cost a lot of people their careers if they do it wrong.
Sure.
And Robert Downey Jr. Destroyed. And Tropic Thunder was an amazing movie. The whole movie was great, but if we're talking about just characters being perfect and fitting exactly what it needed to be, man, that's high on my list easily.
Well, his breakdown at the end of the movie too, when he's ripping off the blackface and he's having that break. I was just like, this is. I mean, it's so fucking meta and so good. And he said that he based his performance kind of off of Russell Crowe, but also off of.
Yes, that's why he made him Australian.
Yeah,
because he's an Australian man. Yeah, whose previous role.
He's like, I'm nothing.
I love the it's such a quick joke, but the role right before this is playing an albino priest. He goes from playing an albino priest to playing a black soldier. It's just
what
so
a good fucking movie. I mean, like,
and when he goes into this dramatic scene talking about the word that Al Pacino calls him being the word that's held them down for years, and Al Pacino's just like, wait, what? It's this white guy in blackface telling a black man about. It's like, what?
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, you people?
Oh,
so good.
I mean, just the lines like, "I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude" is God. Like, I just watched quick clips and was crying just watching his parts of the movie.
Which is so funny because, I mean, it's almost a disservice to the rest of the movie because it's all great. Like, everything in that movie is great.
I mean,
Jack Black is fucking amazing in that movie.
And Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise is, of
Les
course,
Grossman just fucking kills it.
I mean, he dances away with the movie.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is a perfect comedy. It's up in probably the top 10, I think, best comedies that have ever been made. It is. There's almost no bad notes in it. It's so good.
And they get away with so much that obviously it shows you can get away with it, but it is a fine line of being able to do what they did under the umbrella of satire.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a Mel Brooks comedy is what it is.
Yeah, and I think you look at people, Mel Brooks can get away with it, the guys from South Park can get away with it to an extent, and it's because they're smart and they understand and do it. That movie there's another version of Tropic Thunder that someone writes, those asshole brothers that did like the parody movies.
Oh god.
That's just gonna hit every wrong note and it's gonna be painful. And it's kind of interesting to watch a studio trust somebody and be like, okay, we get what you're doing with this, let's do it. And it's funny that you brought up that performance, Ryan, because it's actually came out the exact same summer, and it has the exact same actor you talked about for a role I want to, even though it stretches over many movies, and that's Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man.
And that's where I started.
Yeah.
On Robert Downey Jr. I thought that's what I would go with, and
Wonder Boys is my
Tropic Thunder.
I mean, I think Marvel is also one of those studios that has gotten so good at casting that you could really probably say this about any one of the people that they've cast in their films. But Robert Downey Jr. specifically started the whole thing. He had to finish the whole thing, and he makes it through several movies, never feeling like he's just showing up to get a paycheck, which he absolutely could do. He doesn't have to do what he does in those movies. And at the moment for me where I because you were talking, Ben, about this idea of it's got to be something that only this person could do, pretty much, and also that they really throw themselves into it. And you might think maybe watching the movies, because he's so good at what he does, that it's kind of effortless for him. But I'll draw this story that's an anecdote from Endgame, and if you guys have not seen Endgame at this point, it's out on Blu-ray right now. Just go and get it and watch it. But I'm going to spoil the very very end of the movie.
My dad and I watched it. My dad loved it. He was just like, it's so good.
It's so good. And so the I am Iron Man line at the end of the movie was an afterthought. They were literally editing the movie. It was, I think they were opening in a month. And it was Joel Silver and Robert Downey Jr. having dinner. Because Downey said, like, I don't want to go back and get in that headspace again. I don't want to go back and do that scene. He's like, it's emotionally, there's a lot going on. You don't think about it when you're watching this big, giant FX spectacle. And of course, Joel Silver goes, are you fucking kidding me? You're not gonna go back and re-record the greatest ending line of all time saying, I am Iron Man. And that's why he wound up going to do it. But you go and you can watch him shooting the scene. He's getting himself out of breath because he's just been in this battle and there's all these things going. He's getting the tears and the stuff. It's a simple little moment, but he puts 110% into everything he did for that character. It's so suited for him. And yes, I think Tom Cruise would have made a really good Tony Stark. It would have been a different Tony Stark.
Completely different.
I think Sam Rockwell would have made a really interesting Tony Stark, a very different Tony Stark. I think Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is I mean, it's between him and Hugh Jackman as far as who most encapsulates the heart of that character. But I think Robert Downey Jr. I don't think anyone else could do what he did over the course of
I think there's no argument.
Yeah.
He is insanely good as Iron Man. He is Iron Man, and I am Iron Man.
There we go.
I mean, and that's the end of end of Endgame.
Yeah.
I mean, like that was to talk about like a character who, like, I mean, as an actor, getting to have that moment of being like, this is a 15-year journey that I get to usher in and bring to a close. That's
and Kevin Smith had a really interesting thing, is he was sharing his favorite scene in the movie is the scene in the elevator between Tony
Hydra?
No, no, between Slattery and Elder Stark and Junior Stark,
which is my favorite scene in the movie,
which is basically where Stark Senior says, I'm too selfish. I would never be able to give up everything I have for the greater good. And Kevin Smith goes, guys, do you not realize this is the entire the reason Tony Stark does what he does at the end only happens because of this scene.
You're right.
He doesn't make that same decision until he has that moment with his dad. That's some layered writing and good shit. But
great shit.
But so sorry, of course, we were contractually obligated to bring up Endgame every several episodes, so that I had to get it out there. All right, Ben, you're up.
So there's an actress, Natalie Portman, who I love and everything. Obviously, like I've loved Natalie Portman since she was young in the
Whoa.
Hey.
Down over there,
in
buddy.
The Professional. Come on, man. It's called Leon, The Professional. You guys be professional.
No, we're not professional. Sorry, you've known me for a while.
No, I've always thought that she was super talented, but I always thought that she had something a little bit off about her cadence, about like in different properties.
I don't disagree.
Where I felt like she was acting. The one movie that I felt like I just experienced, Black Swan, Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan 2010, I think is close to a perfect movie. And her performance in that is so just like jarringly like realistic and just so absurdly affecting. I was just like, this is an actor that obviously takes her job very seriously and throws himself into tons of roles. So I wanted to have somebody who's very popular.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I don't think that, I mean, obviously she won Best Actress for that role
as she should have.
Yeah. She could be nominated 10 times out of 10 for the following 10 years, and she would have won every year, in my opinion, just because she was that good in that movie. And I think that I've never seen a more transformative performance from such a talented actor than I did from Natalie Portman in Black Swan.
No, and that's a really good choice, because I agree with everything you said as well. I find her to be a little bit mannered.
Yeah, she's
in a lot of
actor.
things. Same. I mean, it's the Kevin Spacey thing, right? You see Kevin Spacey acting constantly. You don't see just a role. Versus that movie,
and they're always great. They're always great. You always see Ian McKellen acting through Ian McKellen.
Yeah, maybe not of Gods and Monsters.
You always see Michael Caine. Michael Caine acting through Michael Caine.
No, you're doing it all wrong.
No,
the years of the brandy and the cigars. So I cannot finish.
He brought Loa.
Loa. No. She was just 10 years old.
Ryan.
End scene.
Ryan, what actor do you have?
I was really hoping you were going to say Natalie Portman in Garden State, and I was going to get super excited.
The Manic Pixie Dream Girl synthesis?
That role does not, she does not work for me in that movie.
It works for me. It's fine.
Yeah. You're welcome to your own opinion as long as you're okay with it being wrong.
Touche, sir. From you, I'll accept it.
So my second one I thought of kind of comes full circle back to, I don't know, maybe the first time I called into the podcast and talked about my dad letting me watch movies that probably weren't age appropriate because they're movies he liked. So I immediately thought of Vincent D'Onofrio in Full Metal Jacket as Private Pyle or Leonard Lawrence. It's, again, I went back today and watched just some clips, like kind of refreshed my memory on some of these things, and you almost forget, like, he starts off as the guy who can't stop smiling when he's getting just absolutely berated.
Yep.
You know, Arlie Ermy gives him the, I'm going to give you 3 seconds, exactly 3 fucking seconds to wipe that stupid fucking grin off your face, you know, and he can't stop smiling until he makes him choke himself. And you're watching this, you know, big galoot of a man just slowly descend, and like D'Onofrio just absolutely kills it. You know, no pun intended.
Yeah, it was the first role.
Like, yeah, and he gained. They said he gained 70 pounds to play that role.
Which he's kept on for most of his life.
Which is another reason, like, it's me. Hey, you put on that weight and just let it hang out. Which is great. But then you go from that scene where he can't stop smiling, and then, you know, his last scene, like, Joker comes around the corner with the flashlight, and it's just D'Onofrio sitting on the toilet looking at him, and he just says, "Hi, Joker." And like,
and smiles. Yeah.
Like, it's and who else could do that role? I'm sure you could find a million people now looking back at it.
7mm full metal jacket.
Yeah, he gets to invoke the title too. That's the best.
He gets to invoke the title without being ironic.
Yeah,
without
it's
being
so
dumb.
good.
And who would you put in that role right now?
The best part is when he lowers the gun at the drill sergeant, and he just goes,
yeah,
like he's so satisfied.
The release, he's finally gotten his revenge
before he's actually shot him. It's insanely good.
And plus, I mean, that's what introduced us to the greatness that is Arlie Ermy as well. So, you know, thanks for that.
Stole the role away from Christopher Walken. Did you know that?
Really? No,
I did not know that. I mean, I knew they had other people.
No, is it Walken or Hopper? It's one of the two.
No, they had other people on set, and Ermy was the one.
Ermy was the coach. He was the coach.
He was the coach.
And they go and Cooper's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Exactly. I have my scene right here." And so it was either Walken or Hopper. I can't remember, but one of them was hired.
It had to be Hopper.
One of them was hired.
I just can't imagine Walken.
Private Joker.
Only Steers and Quiz come from Texas, and you don't look like a Steer.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, they said Ermy wrote like 140 pages of cut downs, basically. Berating lines.
He's off the cuff. I mean, like, he is just so unhinged in that.
Oh yeah,
that entire performance is crazy. But I totally respect that choice because Vincent D'Onofrio is a great actor. But that was I don't think anybody else could have done that role.
No, and I don't think he's been as good. I mean, he's good in a lot of things. I don't know if he's been as good as that role. I mean, that's kind of amazing to do that in your first shot out there.
Well, yeah, it's a sad story, but
yeah. Well, so my next pick is actually someone that acted for a long time before they got any real credit for it. I loved the casting of this. Ben and I, we have talked about this before, but it's Jackie Earle Haley in Watchmen as Rorschach.
Oh man!
And
fucking casting.
Even if you don't, there are a lot of people that really hate this movie. Nobody hates his performance in this movie. There's no one. Rorschach. It is so. There's so many small things going on, and he's acting with a mask on his face for half of the fucking movie, and it still works. It's unbelievable. It literally gives me chills, and of course I have to play the one one scene.
Have you seen Watchmen?
Yeah, I saw it a long time ago. Okay. If I try to get in on this conversation, I'm going to completely be making shit up.
So he's found himself in prison, and he's being looked at by a psychiatrist, and he has a moment here.
The world this way. Hold on. We do.
Hey, Rorschach.
He's at a lunch line.
You're famous, right?
And there's boiling oil.
I'm pretty famous too. Ain't that right?
That's right.
That's right.
So he put all these people in jail, which is the reason why everybody hates him.
What you say, big boy?
Beating up a guy, he's going to pour boiling oil on him.
Come on, you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
That is such a great moment in the novel, but he makes it so much more terrifying and amazing on screen that it's unreal.
So you know how he got that job? So he basically, as soon as they said they were making a Watchmen movie, he sent a video of him doing the first scene as Rorschach in a mask.
Nice.
To Zack Snyder. And just said, I will kill for this job.
That's amazing. Yeah, he's unbelievable in it. It really is. It is such the final scene with him when he just says like, do it. Yeah, and but the one right before it when he's like complete and just like, do it. Yeah. He does some things. He does some really. I think there are a lot of actors. I think, and I don't know which. I've got a few that I could go for my third performance. I might go with one that's more physical.
Sure.
But what he does with his voice and how he delivers, because sometimes it's this raspy kind of thing. Sometimes he yells, sometimes it's this whisper, and it's like, that's a hard thing to pull off.
But here's the thing that he does that is so good. It actually echoes what it says in the comic book panels, because Rorschach's comic book panels are either kind of blurry, or they're big, or it's very, very strange because he's wearing this mask the entire time. He literally found out a way to vocalize the way that all of those things sounded.
It's crazy.
Jackie Earle Haley is a fucking beast. That guy just acted out of his balls for that movie.
Well, and it was funny because I noticed at this point I had picked 2 comic book movies, but I think that's kind of fun also to look at. Like you can have popcorn summer fun, but also have some nuance and real pathos from your actors in it. And I think of all, I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, but I think Rorschach is the most layered, full-bodied comic book representation that that it exists out there.
He's great.
As perfection. All right, Benny.
So my last one, we've talked about a lot on the podcast before, actually.
Aliens?
No. So it's Aliens. You were thinking it was Aliens. It's Aliens. No, it's actually Chris Klein in Election as Paul Metzler.
We did. This was in our Not Waste. It was our One Hit Wonders podcast from 2013.
Chris Klein, who you guys may not remember from anything except for American Pie and for maybe
his audition for Mamma
Mia. But talk about a guy that got cast by the right director who knew what to do with a guy who was just trying to do his best. And obviously, Chris Klein's in on the joke. Like, he's in on being the jock who, whatever. But I've never seen a jock played better. I will never see a jock played better ever again. That role of Paul Metzler is the perfect high school jock. Like, that's the epitome of it. I cannot find a single example that I could think of that would make me more, that would make me feel more satisfied and terrified of that.
I don't know what I'm going to see if the sound quality is good in this, but this is his speech. When he goes
played
up
before on the podcast.
Did we play it on the podcast?
Yeah, we played it on the podcast.
Let's see if we've got this here.
Body president is Paul Metzler. Paul?
Look at that big dumb lug.
Tall, good-looking guy. And just bends over the microphone.
It's also a great piece of direction. The microphone's way too short for him just to hunch over.
It's been over, yeah.
So is he like the same character as his character from American Pie?
Year, and the experience
Yeah.
has made me
Not really.
reevaluate what I want to do with my life, and that is help people.
When you think about it, a school is more than a school. It's our second home where we spend all our time and grow as individuals and a community. But is our school everything it could be? I want our school to reach its true potential. That's why I'm running for president. I know what it is to fight hard and win, like when we almost went to state last fall and I threw the fourth quarter pass against Westside for the touchdown that won the game by 3 points. I won't let you down like I didn't then. I promise we can all score a winning touchdown together. Vote Paul Metzler for president. Thank you.
That's so good. And I think we were saying earlier kind of what goes into a performance. I think a lot of that is Payne. I think Payne is telling him, like, but here's where you breathe, here's what you do. But he nails it. He nails it.
Who else could do that but Chris Klein? Chris Klein's perfectly, like, engineered for that performance. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's that's
so Ryan.
I never would have expected that. That's way more of a surprise than Kevin Bacon. But I also love that I hear this shuffling of papers on Ryan's side. Like I'm picturing him right now with this binder of like preparation for this podcast. They're just like a newsman. Like, just keeps shuffling through all these papers.
Hey Ryan, guess what I'm about to open?
His pants.
Modem Tones Date Shake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a suggestive title.
I know.
Fancy.
Yeah. You want some of this?
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Well, yes.
That's enough. Well, come on over, big boy. All right. What's your
next?
See
him in like a month.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. When is that? I gotta get dates on that.
End of September.
Okay. Perfect. All right. What's your next one, Ryan?
Oh, this one was tough. Like, trying to narrow it down to a third, and I'm going to be real honest with you. I spent a solid hour trying to wedge Rachel McAdams in Mean Girls into this.
Ooh.
That's not a bad one.
No.
Because
although Lohan and me, excuse me.
Whoa.
Excuse me. That was my Lindsay Lohan impersonation. There is no Dana, only Sewell.
That's funny as shit.
Sorry about that. I don't know what the internal Satan, my overlord, just tried to escape my body. Get back down there, Satan. I think actually Lohan in Mean Girls is also a really, really good performance.
Yeah.
Sure, but I think Lohan, I mean, I feel like that's Lohan in almost every part she was in until she started playing like Christy Canyon and doing all the drugs and
Christy Canyon,
that type of thing. And then I thought, man, do I go down a TV route? Because there's so many good ones that I'd like to
I thought about that too. There's a lot.
Because, like, I mean, I feel like I'm not going to take any of yours, but like Michael K. Williams from The Wire, Martin Sheen from West Wing. Like, Martin Sheen completely changed the path of The West Wing.
Yeah.
Because he was only supposed to be in the first episode.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, like, it was supposed to be completely about the staff, but he was so good in what he did that they brought him back and made him an integral part.
Yeah.
But what I finally ended on was Ed Norton from American History X.
Nice. Good
it's
job.
A real good choice.
Really, really good choice.
And the more I started looking into it, I mean, first of all, the movie is just, again, almost like Tropic Thunder, where you start looking at a subject matter where you're walking on eggshells, and it can go really wrong really quickly. They said, I started looking into it, and I didn't realize any of this. Joaquin Phoenix apparently turned down that role because of the subject matter.
Well, and Norton and the director had like massive infights and shit like going on behind the scenes on that. A lot of that movie is Norton's editing.
They said he added 20 minutes to the final cut to give himself more screen time, and the director basically disassociated himself.
Yeah, it's crazy. The making of that movie is a crazy story.
So Joaquin Phoenix turned down that role. Ed Norton turned down the role of Private Ryan in Saving Private Ryan to take the role in American History X.
Smart decision.
Yeah.
But like all of the kind of moving parts that would make that a completely different movie.
Yeah.
But then if you look at it, I mean, can you see Joaquin Phoenix in that role? Can you see anybody other than Ed Norton in that role?
I don't think then I could have seen Joaquin. I could see Joaquin Phoenix now, but he's changed a lot. I mean, that was back when he was doing like Gladiator, and I still think that's one of the most ridiculous performances. I know a lot of people love Joaquin Phoenix and Gladiator and think it's like a really campy thing. I think it's terrible, but he got really good. And he started to take things more seriously. So if you were telling me right now Joaquin Phoenix is going to make American History X, I would go see that.
You mean that role that he got nominated for an Academy Award for? Yeah, he got much better after that.
He did. Is a ridiculous role. Is a ridiculous role. That is.
You and I can agree to disagree on that.
Good Lord, what a terrible. Anyway,
I if you want to knock on Ridley Scott and his direction,
yes,
I'm good on that.
No, I want to do that too.
I'm good on
like,
that.
it doesn't have to be one or the other. I dislike both. No, actually, I like the direction better than I like Joaquin in it. But anyway,
I think you're the last one, right? Right? We have
I am.
one.
Well, I want to. Do you want to talk more about American History X?
No, I mean, I think it pretty much got covered with all of the Joaquin Phoenix
talk. Before we get to the last topic, I poured a pour of this Modem Tones, the date shake, and
it's real terrible, Ryan. You're not going to want any of this.
Matt and I were just like, "What?
It's so
fuck?
Good. It's. So
I mean, this
good.
might be one of the best beers I've ever had in my entire life. This is that good.
It's
shit,
making my tummy
so
smile. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. I don't want it to leave.
Christ. Fucking modern times, man.
They're crushing it.
They're just crushing it.
So I'm torn on this because for my last one, I have a female performance, but I've talked about it at length on the podcast, so I'm just going to mention it because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing just actors. But Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive is so. You disagree, or you're like
disagree.
You disagree. I fucking love her in that movie, but so I'm not so I don't piss Ben off. I'm going to go the other way with it, which is Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. And I think for me, there are some small little things he's doing in that movie that are so chilling, knowing that he's playing this psychopath that is so charming. That I remember the first time watching it just being like, who the fuck is this guy? Where did he come from? This is like one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. I think from the opening, I mean, he carries at the first 20 minutes of that movie in one of the most tense scenes, not the most tense scene in the movie, which is kind of amazing, but just he's so chilling, and you're being seduced by this person that's like putting on the smile and this charm and all these things, but this is a cold-blooded killer, and the Au revoir Shoshana is like such a great capper to that scene, and then all of the other shit where he's like at dinner with like the clotted cream and telling her like how to eat the pastry and stuff. It's amazing, and I don't specifically because it's hard to find like a German to do it. That's a real hard role. In fact, the movie almost didn't get made because Tarantino couldn't find. He auditioned tons of people for the role. He couldn't find anyone. At the last minute, he found Christoph Waltz, who got an Academy Award for his first American movie. I believe he'd only done German movies up to that point, but.
That was the whole thing. They were looking for somebody who's a linguist, and they were like, "We have no actors that are linguists that can speak." And Christoph Waltz speaks 11 languages, and
crazy.
So they brought him in, and he just and apparently that's what happened. Is Quentin Tarantino and his producer looked at each other? They were like, "We have a movie."
Yeah. And it's insane. I mean, it is, and that movie does not work without him. It does not work without that casting. There's fun stuff in that movie. There's great things in that movie. There's a lot of good scenes. He is that movie, and it's such an amazing performance, and that's why it's also largely why that's one of probably at the top of my Tarantino list is him. And it's really just also I'll sit and watch.
Wouldn't agree or wouldn't disagree.
I mean, I'll sit and listen to him read dialogue in anything because he is such a great cadence and how he delivers lines, and I also have to say if you ever go back to watch some not old but like a few years older SNL, Taron Killam does a fantastic Christoph Waltz impersonation that is hysterically funny, so I highly recommend that. But I think that's our topic. I think we did it. And we did with Ryan, too.
Hey, guys.
and all of his folded underwear.
Is all of your underwear folded?
Yes.
Good for you.
Folded and put away.
Are all your dishes put away?
Like
Good
a
for
real
you. A real boy.
Well, Kristen, I'm still approve of the podcast.
Well, you know, Ryan, you're welcome on any podcast you want. We let our audience know early on that this episode is actually airing after our 100th, so maybe a chance that you be getting a call this Thursday evening if you're free, because we will be recording our 100th special spectacular podcast. So
wow, 100
episodes.
Is this counting like the first 35 that sucked?
Yes.
Okay, we can say that.
It's 31.
You can't say that.
Motherfucker.
And it is 31. And they didn't. Listen,
well,
if you think Tom Hanks' masturbation sucks, then I feel sorry for you, son.
What happened?
Because that was gold. The first episode.
That's first fucking episode.
About 8 minutes in. You don't even have to listen very long. Oh, by the way, those 8 minutes are excruciatingly terrible and long. The rest of the show is listenable. As we get on, the sound is terrible, but the first about 8 minutes until Ben asks who I originally pleasured myself to is real bad, and mostly me that's bad. I just did not know what to do with
it's okay
the air.
That is a selling point for any podcast is that it's listenable.
It is listenable.
You're a natural salesman, Matt.
Hey, listen, there are some great listen, you want to go back to some of our early episodes, you can hear from the great James E. Hoot Gibson. In fact, by the way, some of these things probably came up on the podcast because I've been putting together a thing for it. So nice. We'll see. Anywho, we thank you, Ryan, for calling in, or us calling you, or however it works on the New Way. I don't know. I just control it. And we thank everyone out there for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the New Way Podcast, and we'll be back with another one soon. Talk to you later. Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.